Welcome to a meeting of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Welcome everyone to the April 10th, 2023. Excuse me, we're getting started. Let's hold it down a little bit. Welcome everyone to the April 10th, 2023 public hearings of the Planning Commission on the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Amendments. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments when your name is called. You will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chairman calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. For those of you who are not familiar with our process, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chairman. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will then ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that, I'd like to ask the clerk to go ahead and call roll, please.
Good evening, Bernstein.
Here.
Bowden.
Here.
Buzza.
Here.
Cardenas.
Here.
Fernandez.
Here.
Handy.
Here.
Kress.
Here.
Lauch. Soria. Orton.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Chair Joseph.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. All right. Our first order of business is item 2A, AICP 2301, and it is a comprehensive plan map amendment, and the presenter is Karla Llanos.
Good evening. Karla Llanos with Planning Commission staff. This is HCCPA 23-01, also known as 6302 North Falkenburg Road. This is a privately initiated small-scale comprehensive plan future land use map amendment on 18.49 acres. It's going from residential 1 future land use category to light industrial planned. The general location of the subject site is the northmost plan amendment for the January 2023 cycle. It is west of Falkenburg Road, north of Sly Avenue, south of Twin Star Place in the Eureka Springs community. It is in the rural area and within the limits of the East Lake Orient Community Park. The area is predominantly single-family and agricultural uses. North of the subject site is single-family. Further north, you will see the Motor Enclave, which was approved in 2020. To the east and west is agricultural uses. Further to the west is the Tampa Executive Airport. South is a public utility land, and followed by a single family and a church. Now the area is mostly rural character, as you can see on the screen. Falkenburg Road runs north to south along the property's eastern boundary. This view here is basically Falkenburg Road, but the southbound view. And then here we have we're facing the property and it's located to the middle of it. Basically, we're facing west. And the next picture is, again, Falkenburg Road, but we're looking at a northbound view. The adopted future land use is residential 1 and is surrounded by this category. You have the public, quasi-public extending further to the northwest. And it contains, Tampa Executive Airport. You have natural preservation further to the southwest, and then you have the suburban mixed-use 6 and the community mixed-use 12, which is located to the south and to the southwest along the I-4 corridor. It's located there due to the proximity with within the urban service area. Now, your typical uses in the residential 1 allows for farms, ranches, residential uses, rural scale, neighborhood commercial uses. You do have, offices and multipurpose projects, but those are subject to locational criteria. Now, the proposed future land use is light industrial plan. This is going to allow typically for processing, manufacturing, recycling, and storage of materials. It also allows for support offices and warehousing. The only light industrial plan future land use category within proximity to the site is located to the north, which, again, this is part of the motor enclave. Maximum impacts. So under the current adopted future land use, you can get up to 1 dwelling unit per the gross acre of 0.25 floor area ratio. This allows for a maximum of 18 dwelling units or 201,000 square feet of non-residential use. Under the proposed light industrial, it eliminates the residential density. It increases the intensity. So you're looking at a potential for 604,000 square feet of non-residential use. It also introduces the potential for intense commercial activities such as outdoor storage and light industrial uses. Planning Commission staff has reviewed the request for consistency with the comprehensive plan. So on your screen are some policies that were identified during the review. Overall, the proposed plan amendment introduces uses that are not compatible with the rural area. The introduction of light industrial uses is in conflict with the protection of residential neighborhoods and with the community plan that desires to maintain a rural lifestyle and to be developed with 1 acre residential lots. Now, lastly, the proposed light industrial uses are required to be near a designated truck route, and the property is accessible from a local road. So based on the review, the Planning Commission staff is recommending that HCCPA 23-01 be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there a presentation from the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451, St. Petersburg. Pleasure to be here this evening. We appreciate your time and consideration. As Karla has well presented to you, this is HCCPA 23-01, seeking to go from Res 1 to LIP, light industrial, with a PD plan required. There are 2 critical, pivotal factors that are not considered in your staff report recommendation to you. The first is that we have filed and are processing, already paid fees and presented the application to the county, and it is moving towards a zoning hearing master, a companion rezoning application, which is very specific for 1 use, and that's not been considered in your Planning Commission report. Now, that's not a criticism of the staff, or Karla always does a great job. They, as you know, always present to you the maximum use and capacity under their reports. However, it's important that you know that this companion rezoning will be at the Board of County Commissioners the same day that this land use amendment goes to the Board of County Commissioners. And this PD plan restricts this site to 1 use and 1 use only. That's the open storage of trucks, vehicles, equipment, and construction equipment. We're also proposing a 35-foot buffer all the way around the property, which exceeds what's allowed by code or required by code, and also an 8-foot high solid fence, which is also more than what's required by code. And under the LIP, a PD plan is required. It is part of your requirements or your policies and the zoning requirements. So staff reported to you, as Karla well presented, maximum uses of industrial activity, which will not occur on this site. And your staff report says that, again, as I just said, it requires a site plan and what the typical uses are. So when we look at open storage has very, very low trips. In fact, the transportation report that's normally required with your land use amendment application was exempted, was not required the analysis. And in any case, the report also tells you that there's adequate capacity for additional trips that are generated in any regard. There's virtually no infrastructure required for a site of this nature. It is in the rural area of the county. That's one of the reasons we're going with this use. There's no odors. It's well screened and buffered. Zoning requires pretty significant buffering. There was no high buildings, and it's very quiet. The second pivotal exclusion from your staff report and what's presented to you, and I won't say 100% excluded, but a critical factor is the motor enclave, the huge gray area you see immediately to the north, which is the motor enclave project. In fact, we're so close to it that they're one of the persons or entities that we had to notice moving forward with these applications. So we're very closely located to them. This is a 191-acre site that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners in 2020. Now, this is important because this is the large, huge area that's a directive of how this area is changing that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners under PD 20-1148. It's a summary said it's a 1.5-mile auto racetrack, multi-purpose site, event assembly, dynamics pad, 350 garages for storage. And again, those intensities, those specific intensities were not included in the staff report before you, and how big it was and the intensity of the uses. But most important, the zoning staff approved that PD. The Planning Commission, this board approved as well, when that project came through, approved of that very large 191-acre area. Zoning hearing master approved it, and of course the Board of County Commissioners unanimously approved that 191 acres, which is just a stone's throw north of our site. What's interesting is if you look at the current uses of the area, which is in your staff report, you can clearly see that LI is a use that is more than predominant. It's the majority use in the entire area, let alone the airport. So the area has already transitioned through that and is already maintaining significant LI uses. Looking at the future land use map, you can see the airport is a major determinant, as is the CMU 12s, which cover it, and the interstates, which are colored in dark gray as well. The airport is a second predominant feature in the area. As you can see, it takes up quite a bit of area, and we are in the just on the very border of the airport influence area officially under the comp plan. So in comparison to that, when you look at the Planning Commission staff analysis, that report says the site is located in a rural area with residential and agriculture as predominant uses. Well, with great respect, we don't agree with that. We think the mappings of the existing uses and what's been supported by this board and the Board of County Commissioners is different than that. Notes as well the area is predominantly residential and agriculture. I mean, there certainly are residential agriculture uses, but not, we don't agree that the area is predominant use. They note that there's a few public quasi-institutional uses nearby, and the proposed amendment will intensify the area where the vast majority is designated as Res 1 future land use category. When you look at, again, the use and the approvals in the area, we, with respect, don't agree with that. Now, the site was, for many, many years, a number of decades, a very intensive agricultural industrial use or heavy agricultural use. And the historical use was the greener path. Since 1984, they're an agricultural industrial type user. They're a large major wholesale producer and supplier all throughout Florida's southwest coast. There was typically large machinery, 18-wheeler trucks that were regularly used. So the historic use was very intensive. As we come forward, that use is not there now. It has been vacated, but we think it's important that you know the historical use of the property. Between the county and FDOT, there are tremendous transportation requirements that were triggered by the motor enclave. There's a long, long list of transportation improvements, transportation roadway improvements directed and approved under the development order already that are in place. So in summary, Mr. Chairman and board members, we believe the pivotal items that were not considered in the staff report, the companion PD, the 191-acre approved LIP, transportation improvements, and considering the review was maximum impacts, we feel that what we're presenting is compatible. It is in line with what is occurring in the area. The most recent massive LIP approved by zoning, ZHM, this planning commission, the Board of County Commissioners, airport major factors so close to the motor enclave that we're noticing them are very intensive in the immediate area. LI is predominant in the area. The use proposed is low impact for infrastructure, impacts trips and activity, and there is an historical impacting use. So that will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pressman. All right, we had one individual sign up for the public comment on this item. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, if I may, I'm so sorry. I meant to also note, I'm sorry to take you out of order, but we did have a successful meeting with neighbors. Under the new rules of the Planning Commission, we were required to do a public meeting, and we met with quite a number of neighbors, the ones who are abutting on the north, and we responded with the site plan and some changes for them. I don't know if anyone's here this evening, but I want to make the board aware we did reach out and met with neighbors and talked to them quite a bit, and we thought that was very successful. So again, I'm sorry for interrupting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. To the public comment, we had one individual sign up for this one, and that is, I'm going to say Brad O, because I don't want to butcher your last name. Please.
Good evening, Brad Olashansky. I'm the owner of the Motor Enclave, which was referenced here. First, I just want to, I would say the neighborhood meeting was not very successful. I'm representing all the neighbors tonight, and I would say that the PD that they're submitting tonight, we do not support. It is not compatible with what we're doing. The revised PD that Mr. Pressman references, even though they narrowed the use, I would say is still not compatible, and we object to that. We're spending $150 million on our project, including probably $5 million of off-site improvements, new roads right now going in that I'm paying for, new sewer and water that we paid for. I spent probably $1 million on neighborhood improvements, helping neighbors clean up their properties, put new fences in, redo their driveway, aprons, all kinds of stuff. So a use that I think Mr. Pressman is right, that area is, changing, but a kind of landlocked use that is for open storage of heavy industrial equipment, driving down the brand new roads of a project that we're building, which is a huge investment and will deliver significant tax benefit to the county and economic development benefit. We're an approved economic development project. I would say we strongly object to, based on the specific use, certainly the general use that is before you tonight, but the specific use of open industrial heavy equipment storage or any kind of storage of trucks driving in and out over these brand new roads that we're putting in and beautifying the neighborhood, I don't think is compatible. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. That's all we had signed up in the public comment for this one, so we will turn it back over to you for a response.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. I was looking for the list. We had approximately 8 or 9 residents, most who abutted on the north, who were at that public meeting, and they're not here this evening. And again, I've stated, I literally just emailed them all as to changes we've made. So with great respect to Brad, that community meeting was extremely successful. And those neighbors have been noticed, and there are big signs out front. So that's a huge success. The gentleman spec, with great respect to you, is clearly the operator of an LIP, future land use category, which is the same that we're proceeding here. Again, with great respect, there's a lot of transportation requirements that he's responsible for. And those are in place, and they're required to be done. And you have a letter from our engineer that indicates specifically that the transportation impact that we have did not require a transportation analysis. It's very low, so it did not even trigger that. So with that, with great respect to the board and again to Brad, we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now it's time for our discussion. Are there any questions or comments, discussion items from the commissioners? Go ahead, Mrs. Zorniti. Yeah.
You look shocked.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that, and remind you all, as you know, that we can't consider the rezoning application. That's not something that staff overlooked. It's just as part of review of the plan amendment, we're focused on the change in land use category, not the change in zoning, which might narrow the uses to a subset, but we can't rely on that because they could ask for any of the uses allowed by the LIP category. Thank you.
Thank you, good point. All right, now with that caveat, Commissioner Handy?
Actually, that's what I was going to ask. And I have, I guess my big concern here is the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan. And I have great respect for community plans, and having been very heavily involved in one that then tends to sort of get ignored when these things come up. I respect that the staff recognized that this was not consistent with that particular community's visions. And I know this falls under what Ms. Zornita just said, but there was talk of like no odor and no noise, but the first thing that popped in my head is what about lighting? Because that would certainly impact the rural nature that these folks in this community are leaning toward. And I picture that probably being an impact on that rural community as well. So that's my comment there. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Handy. I echo that sentiment. When I read through the report, the community plan jumped out to me as kind of a red flag there, ask questions about. So thank you for those comments. Are there any other comments or questions on this item, discussions from the commissioners? Not seeing it. Commissioner Kress?
Did staff want to mention anything else? No, okay. You
I'm
came-
just here if you guys
Okay,
have
all right.
questions.
I just wanted to hear from you if you had something to say.
I would like to get Mr. Pressman's thoughts, because you didn't mention the community plan at all. You covered a lot of other things as reasons to why, but you kind of didn't mention the community plan at all.
Well, I'm going to take the opportunity to say two things, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Number one is the new county commissioners have been very clear that they want companion PD plans with these land use amendments, and that's the directive we've been following. So I heard Ms. Zornita's comment, but we're under directive to bring these as companions. This will be required to bring forward at the Board of County Commissioners for both issues. With great respect to the community plan, this is clearly an area that has already transitioned. I won't beat a dead horse on that. The LI is the predominant use in the area. So I have great respect for the community plans, and we always look at them very closely to see where we are in posture with them. But with the greatest respect, in this particular area that covers the community plan, the bell has already rung. The cow's already left the barn. And our estimation was what the uses were out there, and we move forward in that direction. Thank you, and I appreciate you letting me make the comments.
Thank you. All right, are there any more questions or comments from the commissioners on this one? Not seeing any lights coming on, I will, yes, Commissioner Cardenas.
You know, I'm pretty familiar with the area, and you know, generally when I look at real estate, I see it always developing in pockets, right? You see an area that it's landlocked in some way by a river or by a highway, and it develops in that format. And this area, I think, is really unique because you've got two things there. You've got an executive airport, and you've basically got a racetrack, and both of these are kind of very specific, you know, very specific to a certain type of, I don't know if you'd call it sport, or you call it a hobby, or whatever it may be. And I wouldn't call it just simple, you know, general light industrial, you know. With those two developments there, this area could develop in a residential format that supports that, or local hobbyists moving to that area in that way, because they are all larger lots throughout. So you know, I just wanted to throw that out there as a train of thought, because a lot of that area out there is land, but you know, I've been out there several times, and it doesn't feel like any of those properties are necessarily being improved other than, other than what's coming from the airport or the motor enclave. And if it was gonna develop in some way, I could imagine, other enthusiasts, moving to that area and supporting it in that same like manner. So, just thought I'd put that out there.
Good points. I had a quick question for staff. When we talk about the predominance of a land use out there, was that by acreage, like area, or is that by quantity, number of like properties? How did we come up with the determination on which is the predominant one?
So the predominant uses, we looked at two aspects of it. So A was using our map series, which gives us the existing land uses as well as our future land use category, and two, looking at the overall concept for the community plan. In the staff report, I mentioned the concept of the Eureka's, the Res 1 category, specifically in the Eureka Springs area. They do call this specific area for residential purposes on 1 acre lots. They don't call them out for any other type of use. It's strictly residential. Two, we looked at, it was unique, the motor enclave was a unique case that happened back in 2020. I can tell you that there have been other requests for LIP on the other side of Interstate 75 that have been denied by both the Planning Commission Board and the Board of County Commissioners. So it's more like introducing light industrial uses in a residential category that's not compatible. Two, we did site visits as well, as you saw the pictures that we had. We looked at, the general character and how we have like nature parks nearby and the protection of residential, obviously, communities. One of the major factors too that we looked at was the truck routes. So if you're proposing light industrial uses typically, and if you're proposing that specific use that he claims to be proposing, you want it to be located next to a truck route. It's not located within that. So we looked at several policies, we looked at our map series, we did the site visits, and we all came to the conclusion as a team that this area is predominantly residential with some agricultural uses.
All right, thank you. Yes, Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious how long this is going to remain residential when there's 200 race cars racing around 300 feet away. I mean, if anybody been to the St. Pete Grand Prix, you can't talk to somebody half a mile away. So I get the community response, but I almost see this whole area redeveloping around this racetrack. The owner talked about more traffic, and I mean, they're bringing hundreds of vehicles through that road already. I just don't see, and the place is a nursery already, so I imagine it sees tractor trailers at this point, at this property. So I just think the future of that area surrounded by industrial is just going to move on. But like I said, wait till those engines start roaring and see how many people stick around.
If I could, I think as planning staff, we have identified, and the county has through several studies, the interchange of I-75 and I-4 as being some of the more underutilized land within Hillsborough County because of the proximity to those roadways. But right now, it's outside the urban service area, and it has the community plan in place. So I understand your point and don't disagree with it, but I think the proper process to go through is to go and meet with the community, talk through changing the community plan, talk about is this an area where the urban service area should be expanded? What other infrastructure is needed to support additional higher intensity uses, whether they be residential or non-residential. They're going to have an impact on things like truck routes and water and sewer service, things of that nature that need to come along with it. So it feels a bit like this is ahead of the planning process for that area.
Can I just ask a question then? Because the only road going in there, I think, is Falkenburg. How did the motorclave get around all that? I mean, they're building massive buildings down there.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the county did approve that land use change. Staff did not support that land use change either to the LIP, but this board did and the county did, and then they came forward with their zoning, and I believe they have some requirements to improve some of the access to that site. I don't know the specifics of that. But in addition, I would say the long-range transportation plan has identified needs along Sly Avenue in that area as needed improvements as well to improve accessibility to the airport and that whole area. So in my mind, there needs to be some master planning of how this all is going to occur to allow the higher intensity to come along with the infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments from the commissioners? I'd like to remind everyone, if you're going to make a motion that is in opposition to staff, you definitely want to have some policies or something to back it up. So think about that as we go forward here. Not seeing any more lights coming on, so going once, going twice on the questions and discussions. All right, then I will go ahead and close public comment on this item and open it up for motions from the commissioners. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to go ahead and move that we find HCCPA 23-01 inconsistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and forward us on to the Hillsborough County Board of Commissioners.
All right, Commissioner. All right, we have a motion of inconsistency finding by Commissioner Buzza. Second to that motion by Commissioner Cardenas. Are there any more questions or discussions from the commissioners at this point? Seeing none, then I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Buzza,
Yes.
Cardenas,
Yes.
Fernandez,
No.
Handy,
Yes.
Kress,
Yes.
Chair Joseph.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried,
Thank you.
7-1.
All right, thank you very much. We move on to our next item of business, 2B, HCCPA 23-02 Comprehensive Plan Text Amendment, Local Functional Classification Map, and the presenter is Wade Reynolds.
Good evening, Commissioners. Wade Reynolds, Hillsborough TPO and Plan Hillsborough staff. As you said, this is an update to the local functional classification map. It was last updated a good time ago. The mobility section map series includes what is now map 7, which is currently unadopted. In coordination with various stakeholders, this map was updated by the county's Community and Infrastructure Planning Department along with a report outlining those changes. Just for background, it includes 4 main types of roadways. Principal arterials, which are your interstates, typically, or large arterial roadways, Dale Mabry, for example, US 41. Arterials, which are high-capacity roads, but below that level of principal arterials. And collectors, which are moderate capacity roads, which move traffic from locals to arterials. And then local roadways, which are low-capacity roads with the highest amount of access to individual properties. This is the proposed map. As you see, this text amendment will adopt the local functional classification map due to the recent update and the regulatory use of the map. The map reflects the growth in the last decade, including new corridors.
I did run it on. I'll just switch the camera off.
Like I said, including new corridors and road widenings, which may impact the function of that roadway. It proposes to rename this map to Map 4 and for it to be grouped with the other mobility section adopted maps. There is also a minor clarifying update for another adopted map as noted in the packet. It would remove the year 2021 from mobility section Map 3, which is the context classification map. Or, excuse me, from Map 3. Let's see, we did receive several agency comments. Plant City in particular requested to remove roads recently switched over from county to local ownership. Those include Charlie Taylor Road from State Road 92 to South Frontage Road along I-4, Coronet Road, and East Also Brook Street, for a portion from Collins Drive to Park Drive. We also did receive a supportive note from Hillsborough County Affordable Housing, who noted that they support the MAP's adoption. The TPO did hold a workshop on this, as well as the City of Tampa's functional classification scheme at the January Technical Advisory Committee meeting. We did learn a little bit about the different approaches for Hillsborough County and the City of Tampa. And I would just note that my analysis of this is that it is largely assigning to existing roads rather than changing the assignment of existing roads. Two that stand out to me are Citrus Park Drive, which is a newly constructed roadway, and Paseo Almar Boulevard, I believe. Just the applicable comprehensive plan policies, a number from the future land use element, which largely reference functional classification and either restrict or direct certain land uses based on that roadway type. And then in the mobility section, 2 policies that are regard standards for subdivisions, access management, and the grid connectivity there. Staff's recommendation is to find HCCPA 23-02 consistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and follow this recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, there's no other presentations? Is that it?
No opposition presentation, as far as I'm aware.
All right. Who do we have sign up for this one? No one signed up in the public comment for this one. So I will turn it over to the commissioners at this point in time for questions, comments. Yes, Commissioner Buzza.
For this be obviously for staff, this is a functional classification map. This is superseding an older version?
Yes, sir.
How old is the older version?
They're updated every 10 years with the adoption of the census.
Okay. So I think we had discussed previously the commercial locational criteria. This language replaces the old version of that then, correct?
Just the map. No language is proposed change.
So none of the language has changed, so the commercial criteria is still what it was 10 years ago?
Yes, sir.
About not encouraging commercial at arterial intersections, or this, I guess this one really confuses me. 23.5 is encouraging higher density residential development along major corridors and arterials. Wouldn't that be counterintuitive that your residential would be buffered by some sort of light commercial neighborhood Starbucks, so that they're not right on a arterial 4-lane highway for residential?
That's certainly one consideration. I think part of the consideration there, and I'm not sure a lot of the background on that policy, but would be access to transit as well, through encouraging that.
Okay. So this language, none of the language is being changed with this, just the map update?
Just the map update with this amendment, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? I did have 3 questions myself, or 3 issues really with this presentation, and they're going to form questions that I would like to get answered if you could. The justification for this was, if I'm not mistaken, and I could very well be, was that the map is old and it needs to be updated. Was there someone who directed this? Like, was it from the BOCC and they said, we need you guys go back and fix this up, or what? Is it just part of somebody's work program that it just came up? How did it come about precisely?
The functional classifications for all of the classified roadways are done every 10 years after the census. The federal functional classification is just kicking off and will take about a year with FDOT and FHWA. So there are 3 functional classification schemes going on right now. The City of Tampa, which we also reviewed, Hillsborough County, and FDOT/federal.
Okay. And one thing that also gave me pause with the justification, that's why I guess I couldn't understand what the impetus of this was. I'm not understanding where there are issues in the old one necessarily. So there's not a clear, when I read the report, I can't look at it and say, okay, well, there's an old map that exists here somewhere, and because of this old map, we're having all these problems with our roads, and we need to update this map so that we can not have these problems anymore. That's not clear to me in this report.
I'm not certain that I would necessarily describe it that way. Most of the roads being changed are newly constructed roads as the result of new development. Okay. So that is the major change to the map, is the addition of newly constructed roadways. That being said, I think that, well, maybe the county might have some better answers for that, but this is something that is updated on a cycle and mostly refers to, or most of the changes here are just with new roads.
Okay. Is anybody from the county online, or anybody here at present from the county department to speak? Maybe they could speak a little bit more about this.
Good evening, Sarah Caper with Hillsborough County's Community Infrastructure Planning Department.
Hello.
I apologize. I'm having some issues with my camera, but yes, I can confirm some of what Wade said. We do have several new roads that were not part of the map. It's also something that we consider to be a good exercise on somewhat of an integral basis, just to confirm that the roads that are existing in the previous map continue to be with the same classification and to check in with those. I also have JJ Samus here from Innovo Partners who assisted with this, and perhaps JJ, you could speak a little bit to the update process and the impetus for some of those changes.
Sure, of course. Yeah, a lot of it was for consistency with the DOT's LRTP and ensuring that there's consistency between the old map, the current long-range plan, and then opening up discussion with local agencies. It was a lot of geospatial exercise to ensure there was that consistency and that discussion occurring, just because the map is so old and there has been so much growth, and as was referred to, a lot of new roads came online. So that was a lot of the impetus behind the project that we conducted.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is Robbie from the clerk's office. May I have the speaker state his name for the record, please?
Sorry, I'm Joseph Samus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good. I had another question also, building off of what you were talking about. You mentioned FDOT. That was my second kind of issue, that I didn't notice a lot of discussion of FDOT in the report. There's a lot of discussion of federal highway standards, and I understand the difference between FDOT and the Federal Highway Administration, so no need to do that. But in this report, it seems like, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of discussion of state, I guess, how our state kind of decides what is an arterial versus what is a collector. And it seemed to be a lot of discussion about regions around the country and the Federal Highway Administration and their directives for designating roadways. So I was just wondering if the county's department could speak on that, the lack of, information on FDOT and the highlighting mostly of Federal Highway Administration stuff.
Yes, we can speak to that. JJ, would you like to provide some information on that, please?
Yeah, going back to the report language itself, a lot of it was an overarching review. The department's actual urban boundary and functional classification handbook was used. It was also established in 2013. So they're, like was stated, they go through and kind of review this process every decade. We wanted to go through, since we were kind of before that, to ensure that nothing had changed as we were going through and doing this effort that wasn't consistent with the direction FHWA had been going. There wasn't any, and I just want to state for the record, the DOT process was followed. The handbook was there. A lot of the language in there was just showing that we did our homework to ensure nothing was missed along the way that may be caught in an update, to ensure we were bringing the best geospatial techniques to the stakeholders to have the discussion.
Okay, thank you. I get that FDOT's materials were used in the reviews and the processes. What I was speaking to really, I guess, was the absence of FDOT as a voice in the process. I was wondering if there was input from District 7 or anybody from FDOT. I'm kind of seeing TPO, I've seen all these other organizations that were a part of the process, and I'm wondering if there was that direct kind of link with and discussion with anyone from the state Department of Transit, other than bringing in printed materials and the background research.
I can speak to that somewhat, just that we did include FDOT with the Technical Advisory Committee review of these, and if there are any inconsistencies with FDOT's roadway classification system, that is worked out at the end of their process approximately a year from now.
Okay, all right, yeah, those were some of the issues that I kind of had with this thing. I don't know, it gives me a little bit of pause still. Gives me a little bit of pause, this report. Yes.
Can I just add one thing? I think it was an answer to maybe your first question about why we're doing this amendment. So when the mobility element was being updated, the county was in the process of doing this study. So previous to the mobility element update, this map was adopted in the comprehensive plan. As part of the mobility element update, it became unadopted because they were in the process of doing this study. However, we need the map to be adopted because it is used for regulatory purposes, not only within the comprehensive plan as highlighted by some of those policies, but also it's utilized in the land development code. So that is really what's prompting it being an amendment to the comprehensive plan right now, is that we need to add it back in as an adopted map.
I see. So there's not an old existing one right now. There's nothing right now because it was unadopted.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
And that's where I got that. Commissioner Kress, yes.
Wait, a question regarding kind of our newfound value on the lives of people walking and biking on our streets, the whole kind of Vision Zero concept and complete streets. Is there ever a case where the streets are actually kind of downgraded from like arterial, maybe to a collector or something like that?
There are cases of that. I can't point to a specific one with this map. If Sarah has anything to offer, I would encourage her to do so. But yes, that would hopefully go along with some plans to change the physical nature of the road somewhat through speed reduction strategies, or to provide less or greater access for adjacent properties, not just like we talk about, not just changing the speed limit on a road, doing things to change the actual functional speed on a road. So yes, there are examples of that. They, at least in my professional opinion, should be coupled with additional measures to ensure that that makes sense.
All right, thank you.
I wasn't sure if Sarah was going to speak up. Okay, thanks so much.
We can wait and see. Sarah, did you have anything to say and answer in response to Commissioner Kress's questions?
I can check the report, Commissioner Kress, and see off the top of my head. I am not certain if any have changed. That said, we do take a fresh look at when we do the updates. So while many of the roadways have the same designation for functional classification as they did previously, we do an individual analysis. So if any roadways are not meeting the same requirements that they did before, we would have changed that while we did this update.
All right. Good. Okay. All right. Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to dwell too long, but I brought this up last month. The quality of maps and tables in this report are lackluster at best. They're lazy. Some of them don't make sense. Some of them are not mapped well, and I just hope that moving forward, taxpayer dollars go further into the products that are in the end of this report.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. I just wanted to make another point. So you did say that some of these roads did change on this map, like Commissioner Kress alluded to. Some have been changed from arterial to collectors or collectors to arterials.
No, sir. I think it was just strictly new assignment of roadways, or if a roadway was widened, it could have changed. I'm not certain that any did.
Right.
I'm only aware. Oh, actually, I do know one that was downgraded from a arterial to collector. And that was 22nd Street, where the port is. They built the larger main street going down towards Causeway from 21st, 22nd Street, and the older local street in Palmetto Beach went from an arterial to a collector. So that one was downgraded. I apologize. We used that as an example in our review of the TAC.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of unsurety, even from the county department, for me on this one. I'm not a fan of this one. I'm not a fan of this one. But I'll listen to some more comments from commissioners if there are those. Commissioner Fernandez.
There looks to seem one other arterial to collector down by Waimama. I see on the map there. Just for everybody's information.
Yeah, and I would just add to my comments. I think that, so I don't just leave this open-ended like I don't feel good about this thing. For me, it doesn't seem like this has been discussed enough. I guess kind of like the context classification was the first time it came through. It seemed like there's been discussions in certain areas with certain people, and now we're supposed to hurry this through because of a need for it. To me, you know, especially when it comes to designating roadways, as we've discussed here, there's big impacts because of what a roadway is and what it goes by. You know, when these things are brought before me and they're just moving at the speed of light and we just have to get it done because someone made a mistake 3 years, that's almost like an immediate red flag to me, you know, and gives me pause to make me say, you know, well, did you go down to Waimama and talk to those people about what they want those roads to be? Did you go to North County, to Odessa, and talk to those people about what's going on? You know, and I don't know that those conversations have been had. So again, to me, it feels like it needs a lot more eyes and a lot more discussion on it. And again, that's my feeling based on this report. I'm sure maybe if people were here to talk to me more about it, I might not feel that way. This is, again, just based off what I'm reading and kind of what's before me here. So I did just want to make that point.
Commissioner, if I could make a comment.
Yes.
I just want to note that we did have several rounds of input and comments, and you can see some of that in the report. Where we respond and look at the comments and the feedback that we heard from stakeholders. And there's also a map in the report that is figure 3.16. It's page 69 of the PDF that shows all of the roadways that changed from the 2008 classification, which is what this was updating. And it does note for each of those what was changed, if it was added or changed from arterial to principal arterial to collector, none to an arterial or principal arterial, and none to collector.
Okay, thank you. I did note that in the report of the stakeholders that were contacted. I did read the emails like a nerd I am. I read through and saw the city of Temple Terrace asking for certain things to be updated. The city of Tampa, I saw all that. But that's, you know, again, that kind of added to what I'm saying, you know, right? These big entities, the city of Temple Terrace, city of Tampa, these municipalities got represented. But again, there's a community plan and community groups in Waimama. There's a community plan and community groups in Odessa. We kind of have all these areas as a big county. And I know this is a lot of work. I know this is, you know, something that takes time, but I really feel that as the county department, it's incumbent to have those discussions with those communities, especially again, when it comes to roadways. We've had so much stuff go on, like the CLC Commissioner Buzza, you know, spoke about roadways and what they're designated as and what they're doing as they pass by the places we live are very important things. And I don't think those things should just be rushed through and, you know, rubber stamped going by. So for me, it's always going to give me pause when these kinds of things come up like this. So did anybody else have any questions or comments or discussion items? I'm not seeing any lights. A lot of heads down. So I will then go on ahead and close the public comment on this item and move it forward to open it up for motions from the commissioners on this item before us. Don't everybody jump at once. Commissioner Kress.
I'll move, I guess, consistency, adoption of the local functional classification map, HCCPA 2302.
All right, we have a motion for consistency finding by Commissioner Kress. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second to that motion by Commissioner Cardenas. Are there any more questions or discussions from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. Then I will go ahead and ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Buzza,
No.
Cardenas,
Yes.
Fernandez,
No.
Handy,
Yes.
Kress,
Yes.
Chair Joseph.
No.
Thank you. Motion carried 5-3. Commissioners Buzza, Fernandez, and Chair Joseph voted no.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Mr. Reynolds. On to, and thank you also to the county department members who were here to speak on the project. On to our next item of business, 2C, HCCPA 23-03, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, and the presenter is Andrea Papandrew.
Good evening, Commissioners. Andrea Papandrew with your Planning Commission staff. This is HCCPA 2303, 10510 Sumner Road. The site is in the urban service area in the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. This is an aerial of the subject site and the surrounding properties. The site is east of US Highway 301 South and north of Sumner Road. The subject site is currently vacant with a single-family residential property. To the east and south are single-family residential uses. In addition to the south is a church, a vacant land, and a mobile home park. To the north is single-family residential, vacant, and agricultural land. And then to the west across Highway 301 is ELAP land, the Bullfrog Creek Scrub. This is a privately initiated small-scale map amendment. The site is approximately 10.13 acres. The request is to go from residential 4 to the residential 9 future land use category. This is looking east on Sumner Road. The picture on the left shows further east down the road past the subject site, which is mostly single-family residential and vacant land. This picture on the right is showing the subject site on the east, on the left side of the road, which is vacant and one single-family lot. This is looking northwest towards the subject site on Sumner Road. This is looking northeast towards the subject site. Immediately in the northwestern corner of the site is a Tico property. This is looking west of the subject site towards the Bullfrog Creek Scrub. And this is looking south of the subject site. Uses to the south include a church, vacant land, and a mobile home park, and single-family residential. So the adopted future land use category for the site is residential 4. Residential 4 surrounds the site on the north, east, and south. To the west is natural preservation, and then further northwest is suburban mixed use 6 and public quasi-public. Proposal before you today is to go to the residential 9 future land use category. Moving to residential 9 would increase density on site to 91 units, would also increase intensity on site to 220,631 square feet. There may be 175,000 square foot cap for the property if it comes in as one unified plan development based on the residential 9 future land use category. If approved, urban scale commercial uses would be permitted on site. Right now, suburban scale commercials permitted under residential 4. So with this change, no new uses would be introduced, but the maximum square footage a commercial use can be from the intersection would be increased. So Plan Commission staff did not receive any objections from any reviewing agencies. Staff is finding this plan amendment to be inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element. Policy 1.4, Objective 12-1 require that new developments should be designed to be compatible with their surrounding community and the character of neighborhoods. A change to the residential 9 future land use category would promote growth in the urban service area, but would not facilitate a gradual transition of land use categories and densities within the area. Our neighborhood and community development policies, including policy 16.8, requires that the overall density and lot sizes of new residential projects reflects the character of the area. Changing from 4 dwelling units an acre to 9 dwelling units an acre would result in lot sizes and densities that are incompatible with the immediately surrounding residential uses. The area is not transitioning to a medium or higher density development pattern. And the complete policy language can be found in your packets. The site is within the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. This plan does include providing housing opportunities for all incomes, and both the existing residential 4 and adopted or proposed, residential 9 categories would fulfill this intent. And that complete policy language is in your packets as well. Based on this, Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed map amendment be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Does the applicant have a presentation? Is the applicant here? Yeah. Okay.
Do you know which? Okay.
Good evening. Charles Baverman, Dinsmore and Shoal, 255 East 5th Street, Cincinnati, Ohio. I am National Land Use Counsel for the applicant here. With me is our local counsel, also with Dinsmore and Shoal, Craig Zaburo, Bob Lewis, Director of Development for Cameron General Contractors and Resort Lifestyle Communities, Christian Morales, our project engineer with Bowman Consulting, and appearing virtually is Stephen Henry with Links & Associates, our traffic consultant for the project. And all of us are available for any questions any of the commission members may have. As Andrea mentioned, this is a proposed amendment to increase the density for the project, for this site, from the Res 4 to the Res 9 category. And specifically, the reason that this request is being made is a companion application was filed with this application for PD rezoning of the site to permit a 200 resident senior living community, consider a life care treatment facility under the code. The change from Res 4 to Res 9 would increase the number of residents that could be housed in such a community from 101 residents to 227 residents. And as we will explain in this presentation, that increase is necessary to allow for the services needed to create a high-quality senior living community. The density must exist to make those services financially viable. Bob Lewis will come up here to explain to you the Resort Lifestyle Communities model and the highly amenitized senior living use that we intend to develop and operate on this site, and all the amenities we will provide to residents. But again, the density needs to be there to create enough residents to justify all of the services that we wish to provide here. The increase here would also allow for a floor area ratio of up to 0.5. However, we are proposing in the PD application a 0.4 floor area ratio. And as Andrea mentioned, this would increase the amount of commercial square footage that would be permitted on the site, but we are not proposing any commercial usage for the site. This is going to be a residential support use. It is going to be a life care treatment facility. This is a self-contained community with services to provide to residents, not to the outside public. And so the additional potential commercial square footage is not a relevant consideration for this application because this application will go to the Board of County Commissioners in tandem with the PD rezoning application. Furthermore, the comprehensive plan does contemplate a need for senior housing in the community. As you can see here, housing goal 2 contemplates this need, and there are objectives within the comprehensive plan that are intended to encourage the community here to find ways to allow for new senior living to accommodate the projected population growth of your seniors in this community. In particular, policy 1.2.10 suggests that the county amend development regulations to allow density increases for elderly housing developments in appropriate locations, and specifically affordable and attainable housing, of which all senior housing is considered part of that definition. Again, policy 1.2.11 suggests that the county provide assistance to developers to create the units necessary to support your growing senior living population. And as I mentioned, the density is necessary to create high-quality senior living communities that provide services that elderly residents desire and require as they age. We've done some significant market analysis here, and it shows, again, the need for additional senior living units in this area. What we found is that most residents, approximately 70% of residents of these communities, were previously living within 8 miles of where the community is built. And so that's the area we looked at for this community. The Sun City Center population is going, we believe, will be a highly desirous of this use. This is right up the road, right up 301 from Sun City Center. And so those residents, as they age, will need a community model that will allow them to continue to live in the community when a single-family home no longer makes sense for them. So as you can see here, the average, the number of seniors that you have in the community, 75 and older, are growing. They're going to continue to grow. And the county currently has a shortage of 365 units in this area that would be needed to fully support the existing 75 and older senior population. Within 5 years, that's going to increase to 426 units. So it's an existing problem. It's a problem that's going to continue to grow. Your comprehensive plan recognizes that and is suggesting that the county find ways to allow for additional density to permit additional senior living. And that's exactly what we are proposing to provide here in a location that we believe is perfect for this use because it will service that Sun City Center population. Your comprehensive plan also recognizes that residential support uses, such as this life care treatment facility, need to be in residential neighborhoods, in and around residential neighborhoods to service that population. So while staff mentioned that this is going to be a greater density than what they typically see in and around a residential neighborhood, this is the appropriate location for it in a residential area to serve those residents. And because this is not a commercial use, that's not going to be a large traffic generator and have some of those other factors that go along with additional density, and there will be no school-age children, as would be the case with a traditional multifamily highly dense project. This is an appropriate site for this use. Your code recognizes that with these residential support uses, and again, this is a project that would further the goals of your comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan also suggests that medium and high density uses of this nature be located along high traffic areas, as was mentioned in the prior application. This is an arterial roadway that we are proposing to build this project along. US 301, it's a 6-lane roadway. It's within the urban service area. And up and down 301, other projects that are more dense than the surrounding residential uses have been approved. This would be yet another one. And again, that's the appropriate location within the neighborhood up along the roadway frontage of the arterial roadway frontage. As you can see again the site there, it is along 301. So we've talked about why your comprehensive plan desires a use like this, and we've talked about why this is an appropriate location for a use like this. Our transportation analysis also shows that the traffic that could be generated by a project of this density can be supported by the existing infrastructure. As I previously mentioned, our project will not generate the amount of traffic that could be generated from other projects of this density, but nevertheless, if the maximum amount of commercial square footage would be built here, it would create 3,313 new daily trips. And if the maximum amount of residential units on the site were constructed, it would create an additional 482 new trips. However, we're not proposing commercial square footage. We're not proposing traditional residential square footage. Nevertheless, The roadways are currently operating an acceptable level of service, and the staff report acknowledges that there is adequate capacity for the additional generated trips that would be created by the maximum commercial or residential unit counter square footage that could be constructed within an R9 site. We had 2 neighborhood meetings on this project, both at the nearby Calusa Golf and Country Club, so to make it convenient for those Sun City Center residents, as well as any other residents nearby the property. We invited all Ayersworth Glen residents, which is the large neighborhood just north of this site. Both meetings had a handful of residents attend. Everyone in attendance was very positive about the project. They had good questions. I think they recognized the value that this type of use would provide to the surrounding area, and the fact that it would be a popular community for existing residents when the time comes at the point in residents' lives when they're looking for a communal living environment. There was no significant opposition to the project, no opposition of any type at either of those meetings. With that, I'm going to introduce Bob Lewis here to talk to you more about the resort lifestyle community model.
Good evening. Bob Lewis, Director of Development for Cameron General Contractors and Resort Lifestyle Communities, 7101 South 82nd, Lincoln, Nebraska. Thank you, Chairman, and the members of the Commission. As Charlie indicated, we have a very specific use that we're trying to get approved here, and we need the density to do that. Senior living communities by nature need to be more dense. They're not single family. This will be a single building, 130 units, 128 rentable. We currently operate 51 of these communities around the United States. We have 6 or 7 here in Florida alone. We've been around since '89. You can see some of the information on your screen that gives a little background about us. Specifically to this community, we offer live-in managers in our community for our residents, benefit of our residents, excuse me. We are professionally staffed 24/7. This is an independent living community. We do not have a medical license to operate. However, we do provide the medical alert system. We have concierge service, free scheduled transportation. Again, that leads to the point that we are a very low traffic generator. And as our traffic study indicated, even at the maximum density of the R9, the roadways out there can function adequately and are built to handle that traffic generation. We, again, resort style lifestyle dining, we offer 3 meals a day, valet parking, weekly housekeeping, full-time maintenance, home health care services. If those who need some of those additional services, they can have those brought into the building. Again, a very highly amenitized building, and Charlie talked about density. You have to have so many residents to be able to provide all the amenities to make this financially viable. We have a 150-seat theater, on-site bank, pharmacy, gift shop, salon and barber. And I'll mention on those last 3, those are for our residents only. There's no outside signage. These are not for people driving up and down the roadway to stop in and use the bank or get a haircut. These are strictly for the use of the residents. We have a library, billiards room, communication center, internet. We have garages and storage options, and of course there's elevators on all floors. I want to note that the average age of move-in of these residents in the 20 years we've been doing the business and the 51 we have open, average age of move-in is 81. The reason we picked this location, Sun City Center, those people are at that age where they're going to be ready to transition out. They can no longer maintain a home. They've had a spouse pass away. They've lost the ability to drive. That's the type of resident that moves into these type of communities. And when they move in, we try to have all the services within the community for them, so they're, again, it's a low traffic generator. That's not to say we don't try to get them out and about in the community, because we do offer transportation and we have scheduled events and things of that nature, but it really is a self-contained community within the community. Because the residents that move in aren't quite ready to give up their kitchen, or their kitchens. We do have kitchens. These are full apartments, but we offer 3 meals a day. It's part of the rent. So they don't have to prepare meals, but we're not ready to eliminate kitchens from our model. We have closets, washer, dryer, hookups, each individual climate control. These are pet friendly. We have to interview the pet, but it's pet friendly. All utilities are paid except phone, including cable. We have patio and balcony options. So again, it's a highly amenitized, well-built building that we operate for our residents. And again, we have full-time lifestyle director, daily social invitation and activities, shopping and outings. We have a lounge in the building. We have a resident travel program. If one of our residents wants to travel up to Cincinnati, Ohio, and stay in our community up there for a couple of weeks, we do have a unit that they can do that at no additional charge, and go to the Ohio State football game if that's what they want to do. Fitness center, 24/7 in the building, a free spa and classes. Again, we have a full-time lifestyle director. We have a whirlpool and a spa. So again, no school-age residents, low traffic, low net impact to emergency services. Some of the other benefits, you know, we're ready to, we want to invest $35+ million in the community to build this. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Charlie. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. So, in conclusion, I just want to reiterate, this is a use that is needed in the county, and specifically in this location within the county. This is a site that is appropriate for that use, and the construction of this use on the site would further the goals of the comprehensive plan, as I mentioned earlier. And this is a density that can be supported by the existing infrastructure that exists. So for those reasons, we believe and we respectfully request that you approve the recommend approval of the comprehensive plan amendment that is in front of you. Our application team is available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We did not have anyone sign up for public comment on this item, so we will turn it over to the planning commissioners for questions or comments, discussions of this item. I'm not seeing any lights. Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I could direct this first to staff and Ms. Papandrew. There seems to be some tension between some of the policies that were cited by the applicant that certainly could be read to encourage establishment of fairly high density senior living and related communities in outlying areas. And I assume the staff's position is that, among other things, it's not characteristic of the surrounding neighborhood. And certainly if you're to judge it solely on the nature of the application, I would tend to agree with that. I know we've been admonished at times to consider the general use versus the intended use. This seems to be another one of those situations. But I guess my question, after our saying all that, is if we continue to go down the road of the staff's recommendation, aren't we simply driving projects like this more towards high-density urban areas? And is that really what, from a policy perspective, we want to be doing as a county? Because it seems that in doing so, we run the risk that we potentially squander development opportunities that might be ideally suited for areas that are not high density. And so I don't know where the question is there, other than ask, did the staff consider these competing tensions when ultimately evaluating where to come out on this one?
So the proposed use that was referenced in the applicant's presentation is a zoning application, which is different than this plan amendment application. Staff has to look at purely the plan amendment change from Res 4 to Res 9, because the rezoning application is a completely different process as to go through the zoning hearing master, and that is a separate review by staff. So we only can look at the proposed plan amendment change to residential 9, and when we look at it, you know, regardless of what is being proposed as a specific use, it can double the intensity and density on site. There could be a future rezoning that allows more on that site. We don't know. We have to look at the worst case scenario. And when we look at the surrounding area, and I think I noted in my staff report, the nearest residential 9 is 2.65 miles south. So there's just nothing in this area. It's natural preservation to the west, and it's all residential 4. So when we look at it from that point of view, there's nothing at a higher density. We don't see the area transitioning. So I guess it's really a matter of direction from planning commission or the board of how, if they want that area to move in higher density. From a staff's perspective, our comprehensive plan policies don't, and our adopted future land use map don't show the area transitioning to higher density right now. And we can't look at the rezoning application for this. So that's why we can only look at the policies. I think the applicant was referencing the residential support uses, and those are stuff we will look at with the rezoning because it is relevant at that point.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks. That is helpful.
Commissioner Handy.
So just taking that a step further, I mean, because this does sound like a plan that I think most of us could support. However, if the comp plan amendment moves forward and then something were to happen to this particular proposal and it falls through, now we've rezoned to the Res 9 and it's kind of out of the hands of this board, and someone that could come in with perhaps not so attractive a rezoning or a plan.
Correct. Someone could
Res
come
9.
in up to 91 units, or they could come in up to 220,631 square feet. If it's one unified development, there is a cap at 175,000 square feet because it's multiple parcels. If it comes in as one unified development, we do have that kind of stopgap for residential 9. But if it comes in as multiple parcels developing, it could get up to that 220,000, I think 631 square feet. So it is a possibility if this plan amendment goes forward.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions. All right, were there any more questions or comments from the committee? Yes, Commissioner Roden.
I just moved out of this area, and this area is growing, and they have widened 301, and I'm just looking at your map here, and it looks like that this is a transitional area that the community is growing, and right now they're also working on I-75 for the, I think it's called Big Bend area, that you need to have these transition areas, and I believe this would be a good place to put that transition areas because it's between all of these subdivisions and apartment buildings, and that's the reason why they widened the road, is because of the growth that's going on in this area. That's just my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. Commissioner Bowden.
I'm very familiar with the area, and I agree with Commissioner Handy and some of the comments in regards to the what ifs. And actually, where I live, there was a situation similar to that where there was potentially a living facility to be built. It was a rezone, and it became a school. So, and I also think about the area. If you're going to increase the density, considering the limited housing, affordable housing in that area, then that would be more of something I'm thinking, because this is, as he stated, it's a high amenity development, which means that people that live in the area will not be able to afford those particular units. So that's my thought, if you're going to do the increase of density in the area.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowden. Are there any more comments, questions, or discussion items from the commissioner? Sure, I'll see what you got to say. I'm getting signal over here. The applicant has something to add.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm so that all commission members are clear that this is the companion application we submitted with this is for a PD rezoning. So it is specific to this use, a life care treatment facility. It's not a general zoning district under which any number of things could be built. If this application for the density increase were to be approved by the BOCC, it would be in tandem with a rezoning that permitted only one use, and that would be a life care treatment facility. And so if any other use were to be desired to be built on the site, they would have to submit a application that would have to go and be approved by the BOCC to change the PD that would be approved. That is not our intention. If we are able to obtain this density increase and obtain the PD approval, we are going to build a 200 resident life care treatment facility on the site. But we cannot do so without the density increase. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, were there any more comments, questions, thoughts, or discussion items from the commissioner? Everybody's furrowing their brows, deep in thought. I did want to remind everyone that if we are going to go against staff, we will need some policies, goals, or objectives to add. The applicant gave a fine list of those. I did want to ask your input, Tracy. I see you sitting over there keeping really quiet in all these proceedings. This is the second one that's come before us like this, tied to a PD, kind of forced upon us. And I just wanted to get your insight into, the discussions we've been having, and if you feel that the way we've been approaching this kind of forced dealing with the land use issue at the same time has been appropriate.
I'm a little surprised that we're receiving these tied to a PD myself. But the role of the board hasn't changed. Zoning considerations are not before you. This is a plan consistency issue, and which we've discussed many times. So that's the appropriate course of action.
Right. All right. Thank you for your thoughts. Yes, Commissioner Cardenas.
I think as a board, that's why we're here, for the gray area of what needs to be kind of figured out. So, I know this area well, not super well, but I know it well. I've showed lots of properties around there, and, a facility like this makes sense. It makes sense. It's something that's needed, We provide people somewhere to live in the context of these communities that are like small universities with centers and pools and condos and townhomes and all this stuff for them to live their later years. But, there's years after that, and we need to be able to provide for that too.
Good points. Thank you, Commissioner Cardenas. Are there any more thoughts, questions, comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time, then I will go on ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to the commissioners for motions on this item. Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I would move that we find HCCPA 23-03 consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And in support of that motion, I would refer my fellow commissioners to the following. Housing Goal 2, Objective 1.2, and Objective 17, and policy numbers 1.2.10, 16.13, and 17.1.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Bernstein, citing a Goal 2, Objective 1.2, Objective 17, Policy 1.2.10, Policy 16.13, and Policy 17.1. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Cardenas.
Second it.
All right, we have a second to that motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Cardenas. Are there any questions or comments or discussions from the planning commissioners? Seeing none at this time, then I will ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this consistency finding.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
No.
Buzza?
No.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Fernandez?
No.
Handy?
No.
Kress?
Yes.
Chair Joseph?
No.
Thank you. Motion failed, 3-5. Commissioners Bowden, Buzza, Fernandez, Handy, and Chair Joseph voted no.
Yeah, we need a motion. Yeah. All right. All right, so I will open it back up to motions again on this, because that one sort of failed. So Commissioner Handy?
Yes, I move to find HC CPA 2303 inconsistent per staff findings.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion of inconsistency finding and a second to that motion by Commissioner Buzza. Are there any questions or discussions from planning commissioners? Seeing none at this time, I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on that inconsistency finding.
Bernstein,
No.
Bowden,
Yes.
Buzza,
Yes.
Cardenas,
No.
Fernandez,
Yes.
Handy,
Yes.
Kress,
No.
Chair Joseph.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 5-3. Commissioners Bernstein, Cardenas, and Kress voted no.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you to staff. Thank you to the applicant for your time. And we will move on to our next agenda item, item 2D, HCCPA 23-04, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, and the presenter is Jillian Massey.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is Jillian Massey with your Planning Commission staff, and I'll be presenting on HCCPA 23-04, which is 11924 East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. This is a location map of the January 2023 cycle of proposed plan amendments. 23-04 is in the eastern part of unincorporated county. It's in the urban service area and within the limits of the Sumner Mango Community Plan. This site, as mentioned, is in the eastern part of the county and is outlined here in red. It's on the north side of East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard between Pine Street and Highview Road. Surrounding uses include single-family residential neighborhoods to the north and vacant commercial land and light commercial uses to the east. There are light commercial uses to the south across East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and single-family residential neighborhoods further south. To the west is a shopping plaza with light commercial uses, including an advanced auto parts store, Walmart, and a Publix. Some background on this amendment is that it's a privately initiated small-scale map amendment located on approximately 11.56 acres. And the proposal is to change the subject site from the residential 6 future land use designation to the residential 20. This is the adopted future land use map for the site, which is currently designated as residential 6. It's mainly surrounded by office commercial 20 directly to the west and residential 9 further west. Residential 4 is located immediately north. Residential 6 is located directly east and to the south across East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and further east is designated as residential 9. This is the proposed future land use map for the site. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation from residential 6 to residential 20. The residential 20 designation allows for residential uses, urban scale, neighborhood, commercial, office, multipurpose, or mixed-use projects. This is a view of the subject site from East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. So we would be facing north here. This is facing east on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. You're looking down the street and across the street from the site where you can see there are some single-story suburban scale light commercial uses. This is facing west on East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Over to the right side of the photo, you can see the advanced auto parts store, and a little bit further down the road past Highview is the shopping plaza I mentioned earlier with the Walmart and the Publix. And this is just another photo looking across the street from the subject site at some of the light commercial uses. This photo is of the properties abutting the north side of the subject site, and as you can see here, these are single-family homes. And these properties abut the west side of the subject site on Highview Road. These properties are mainly contain single-family residential dwellings. This slide outlines the potential impacts of changing the land use designation on the site from residential 6 to residential 20. The request will result in an increase in potential residential density and commercial intensity. Currently, the maximum potential density is 69 dwelling units, and the maximum commercial intensity is 0.25 floor area ratio, or approximately 125,888 square feet of non-residential development subject to locational criteria. A change to the residential 20 would allow a potential 231 dwelling units and a commercial intensity of up to 377,665 square feet of non-residential development, and there would be a cap at 175,000 square feet if it was developed as one unified plan development. The change also has the potential to introduce the consideration of urban scale neighborhood commercial developments, which ultimately increases the square footage of non-residential development located close to the intersection. Planning Commission staff has reviewed this application and has found it to be inconsistent with several goals, objectives, and policies in the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Staff's evaluation of the proposed plan amendment indicated that it would allow for the potential of a multi-story residential building in close proximity to the established single-family detached dwellings and single-story light commercial uses. Staff found that the application was inconsistent with policies relating to compatibility, neighborhood protection, and the gradual transition of intensities between uses. In addition, there are strategies in the Sumner Community Plan relating to infill development and compatibility with existing uses that were found to be inconsistent with the proposed amendment. And all of these policies can be found in your packet. In addition, this proposal was sent out for agency review, and there were no formal objections to the amendment, and all of those comments can be found in your packet as well. And based on those considerations, Planning Commission staff recommends that HCCPA 23-04 be found inconsistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation? Yeah, please come forward.
I think it's good evening. Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Michael Brooks for 400 North Tampa Street, Suite 1910, Tampa 33602. I'm here on behalf of my clients, which is Dr. Greg Henderson and his family and colleagues, and Richard Gonzalez and his family as well. I was in front of the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners on this piece of property last in 1999, representing Mr. Gonzalez, who has since passed away. And it has remained up since that time largely undeveloped, except for one commercial out parcel. I want to, two things I want to mention when we, before I start. First is that, and I think Ms. Massey said that there have been no objections, although the staff reports mentions that there were objections from Community Infrastructure and Planning, that there was a revised report updated, and I may have missed that was corrected in the staff report. Secondly, this request is about a mixed-use project, and you saw the comparison for the commercial change. I want to first and foremost say that is capped by locational criteria, so that 377,000 square feet is an abstract number, but it could not occur at this intersection. Secondly is that, and you may wonder, because I said we're looking to develop a mixed-use project here consisting of apartments and some commercial, why didn't you ask for a mixed-use category? And the challenge is somewhat of an internal tension. UMU 20, which would be the equivalent residential density, has a higher FAR. It has no locational criteria associated with it. And so this, in our evaluation, this was the most appropriate request. I'm going to go through, that's not me. I'm going to go through these slides, if I could maybe get help. Which one? The arrows, okay. There are, staff report you just heard focused from the recommendation of inconsistency, focused mainly on a lot of compatibility type policies. What I'm going to propose to you is looking at different comprehensive plan policies, possibly some that I heard one of the commissioners mention earlier, that there's some internal tension. We think that the ones that I'm going to run through, really kind of telling you where we're going at the beginning, are, while they are different, we think that they are more specific to the project and to what we're trying to do. And we think they reflect the priorities of the Board of County Commissioners as we understand them. So the first one, obviously, urban service area, that is the bedrock of any land use change. We are well within the urban service areas. I'll show you that exhibit, roughly about 3+ miles from the eastern boundary. The next is infill development in mixed use criteria. Goal 13 in particular, urban and suburban areas of the county to encourage new development or infill developments that incorporate a mix of use. And so that's what we're attempting to do. All right, that didn't work. These arrows. All right, other arrows. Policy 23.5, major corridors, talks about higher density residential development is encouraged along major corridors as an alternative to continued office and commercial development. And as I'm going to talk about on some of the later slides, what we have here is an emerging commercial, really a strip commercial scenario along MLK Boulevard in the subject area. Next, I'm going to focus on transit emphasis corridors, Objective 12. Actually, Objective 12 talks about really the roadways here, transportation systems. I've got Michael Yates with me from Palm Traffic. He's going to talk about the roadway capacities, the fact that there are sidewalk in the area and bike lanes. And then Policy 16.3, which does talk about transit emphasis corridors and says specifically high-density residential and mixed-use development is encouraged to be located along these transit emphasis corridors, of which we are on one of those. Lastly, mix of housing policies related to 1-2, variety of housing, mix of housing types, and what we're attempting to do is introduce some more variety and options into the area. So as I mentioned, the urban service area, Ms. Massey mentioned this is an 11.5 acre site. There are 8 contiguous folios that have frontage on MLK. There is also some frontage on Highview Road. Highview Road and MLK is a signalized intersection. The request is a change from a Res 6 to a residential 20, and as I started, the purpose is for mixed use development. With this slide, I want to talk about a couple different things here. One of the items that we heard before us today was the context classification for roadways. MLK Boulevard on that context classification that you just recently recommended approval of is a principal arterial. It is at the highest level of the road hierarchy, and Mango Road is an arterial. I'm going to have Michael Yates come up and talk about level of service for those roadways. But the graphic that you have there shows a very interesting fact relative to how we came about kind of designating or identifying what we thought the highest and best use for this property was. And that is it has incredible interstate access. You can be north, south, east, west within 1.5 miles to 2 miles from the site, either via MLK or Mango Road. So I'm going to pause here for a minute, and we need to switch back to the Elmo, however we do that, while Michael Yates comes up.
Good evening, Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, 400 North Tampa Street, 15th floor. Anyway, I just want to go through traffic a little bit. We had worked with staff on evaluating the worst case condition as required through the traffic evaluation. So we looked at what is the worst case under the existing, and then what are the two scenarios under the proposed as a worst case. So when you looked at that 377,000 square feet, that was more for an office use. So we worked with them to kind of determine what those worst case scenarios were, and then what was the trip generation associated with that. And what we analyzed and what we came up with and what staff has reviewed is that the proposed change is actually a reduction in trips. And this has been reviewed by staff. This is what staff has requested on the worst case condition. Now, obviously, on some of the lesser conditions, the proposed change is an increase. But under the worst case condition, it would be a reduction in trips. And so the second part is we did a link evaluation as part of this study. And so MLK had just recently been widened to a 4-lane facility. It was a 2-lane facility. DOT did the widening. They did a full DOT improvement. So they actually did 4-lane divided sidewalks, bike lanes. And so what that did is that gave a capacity of 39.8. When you look at some of the old LOS tables, they were showing a deficiency in capacity. Well, when the widening came through, that allowed for the additional capacity. When you look at even our worst case condition, there is sufficient capacity to accommodate those trips under the worst case condition. So that will be all for the transportation. Again, we're on a principal arterial roadway, recently widened with all the pedestrian interconnectivity.
Thank you, Michael. Can you go back? This next slide is intended to address the transit emphasis corridor. The red star here reflects the subject property, as you might anticipate. This is Route 38 of the Heartline system. It starts up in the upper left-hand corner at Net Park, and it ends at the Westfield Brandon Mall. Along this route, I've got a list of the designations, but generally categorized, they're employment centers, technical colleges, government institutional uses, and medical and hospital uses, all within a transit ride from the subject property. This map is an existing land use map, and we think that this map is more reflective of the request than maybe what the future land use map appears. And the reason is I started policy 23.7, which encourages higher density as an alternative to commercial, particularly strip type commercial. What you see here, the pink areas are commercial development. They are principally located at the intersections of Lakewood Drive. In the middle is Mango Road, and out to the east is Parsons. Immediately adjacent to our property, the OC20 parcel that you saw earlier, there's an excerpt out from the shopping center site plan. You've got the Walmart, Publix, there's a Bell Shopping Center, Rainbow Store, and the Hillsborough County 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan identifies this area as supportive of a minor job cluster for purposes of future roadway recommended projects. I'm going to spend a moment to talk about the zoning. This was the last rezoning of the property, which was in 1999, I mentioned. This is a copy of the zoning plan, the PD plan. It is a blueprint. We don't see many of those nowadays. What this depicts is a traditional grocery anchored shopping center. At the time, this was intended to be a Food Lion grocery store. Food Lion is not longer active in this market. And so the only portion of this PD that has been developed to date is down in the bottom left-hand corner, which is in Advanced Auto Parts, 6,800 square feet, and the remainder has been vacant since that time. There are two other zoning designations that are involved within the planned change area. One is over in the bottom right-hand corner, PD 850166. It's approved for 2,800 per square foot drive-through and office. And then there is a CG zoning district as well with a 1,600 square foot building and a commercial office building that is currently being used for auto sales. The reason I'm spending time talking about the existing zoning is because I believe that it's important to the compatibility policies that, that your staff report had done an excellent job of discussing. Because a lot of those policies, and I'm going to run through those at the end, address compatibility in terms of design techniques, things that we do to make things compatible. Residential is generally compatible with residential. Residential can be compatible with other uses depending on how we design those sites and whether it be buffers, zoning conditions, etc. This particular zoning, the subject property abuts 7 of the single-family lots. And there are specific zoning conditions that are in place currently that provide some of those techniques. And specifically, there is a height limitation within 50 feet of that property boundary, where anything within 50 feet has to be no more than 16 feet maximum. There is a requirement to not only just have buffer and screening as would be required under the code, but to preserve the existing vegetation. I'm going to go back to some of those photographs in a minute. Other things you would expect to see, prohibition on location of dumpsters, lighting restrictions, etc. Those things exist in place for the site, and we intend to keep those in place with any other amended use proposals. These are the photographs I was mentioning. The one on the left is looking interior to the site. There are a lot of trees on site, many of which are nuisance, some of which are not in particularly good shape. But the trees along the common boundary, which the picture on the right shows, those, you can see that significant trees along that common property boundary. And those will remain with whatever development proposal happens here. Lastly, I want to touch on the future land use map. As Ms. Massey said, yes, the OC20 is immediately adjacent. There is 9 further to the west. The one thing in particular I want to point out here, though, that the Res 4 to the north, and I'm not sure how this happened, but that development was existing at the time that the comprehensive plan was, this current version of the comprehensive plan was adopted in 1991. That PD is, or that subdivision is zoned Res 6, and it is platted and developed and has been for many, many years as residential 6. So the future land use map is misleading as to what the abutting property is to the north. We did have a community meeting under the new policies or the new procedures on February 28th. We held it at the Baptist Church just right down the street. We had 8 individuals show up, all of whom were supportive of some development happening. This stretch of MLK has a number of vacant properties which are being used for things that they're not supposed to be used for, creating nuisances for some of the neighbors. And so we've, as a result of that meeting, we've been able to take some efforts to kind of clean out squatters and generally clean up the underbrush so that some of those things won't occur. We also did, my client also did additional outreach. They went door to door up and down on 2 different occasions, Oak Valley Drive. They spoke to every abutting owner as well as some both to the north and further to the east, except for one. And all of those contacts were favorable. They desire to see something happen. They prefer to see apartments as an abutting use than a commercial shopping center or a grocery store in particular. And I'm not aware that there's anybody signed up this evening to speak in opposition. So running back through these real quick, these are the high points. Urban service area, obviously objective 1. The infill and the mixed use opportunity, that is goal 13 that I started out with. The alternative to commercial development pattern on a major corridor, that's policy 23.5. The transportation conditions on the property, acceptable LOS, it's on a primary arterial, and of course it has convenient access to I-4 and I-75 within a mile and a half, 2 miles. That's objective 12. It's centrally located on a HART transit line, policy 16.13. At a recent Board of County Commissioners meeting on a project that this commission had recommended approval of, and the reason that I'm highlighting centrally is there was a case where a property was on the end of a line, and that became a topic of by the board, and they were not so excited about being at the end of a transit line. Further, the mix of housing types, objective 1-12. And lastly, the last 3 items on here were immediately abutting an OC20 future land use, the Mango Shopping Center. This is where you would expect to see higher density on your land use map, where you would expect, frankly, to see a flex, but for the community plan, which does limit flexes as a result of that effort. There will be minimal impact to the existing adjacent uses, particularly after consideration of the design techniques similar to what's in place. And I want to fast forward here quickly. Talk about the Sumner Mango Community Plan. And I was in the library for many of these meetings when the Mango Sumner Plan was adopted. And there was a suggestion in the staff report that we're inconsistent with this. Specifically, what this said is that commercial development shall be directed to US 92 and MLK Boulevard. Fine. Strategies to recognize the commercial character within the urban service area. But it also says to support infill development and redevelopment within the urban service area. And also to encourage and revitalize and redevelopment of older existing shopping center areas and uses. I would submit to you, again, with the benefit of having been there when this was written, I think we're actually squarely consistent with this provision in the community plan. And so with that, I will cede the rest of my time and answer any questions.
All right, thank you. We did not have anyone sign up in the public comment for this one. So with that, I will turn it over to the commissioners for questions or comments, discussion items. I'm not seeing any lights coming on, going once. Questions, discussion going twice. All right, then I'll go ahead and close public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Not everybody all at once. Anyone? Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I would move that we find 23-04 inconsistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the Imagine 2040 County Comprehensive Plan and pass that recommendation along to the County Commission for their consideration.
All right, Commissioner Bowden?
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion of inconsistency finding from Commissioner Bernstein, a second to that motion by Commissioner Bowden. Any questions or discussions from the planning commissioners? Seeing none at this time, I'll ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Cardenas?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Handy?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Chair Joseph?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 8-0.
All right, thank you. Thank you to the applicant for your time. And that was the last action item we had. This meeting is adjourned at 7:34. Good night, everyone.